Welcome back to JCE Connect revision classes on modern interface design. We had started revising module 2, which deals with user interface design process, wherein we had already covered topics such as the 7 commandments, human characteristics affecting the user interface design, and usability in the previous video. In this video, we shall now be discussing the human considerations in the design of a business system, followed by the techniques for determining the user requirements and the problems that occur while you perform requirements collection. So we begin our discussion with human considerations in the design of a business system. In the previous video, we have seen the human characteristics that tend to be general qualities that all of us possess. So apart from these human characteristics, there are other human aspects in which people vary greatly. So all these must be considered when we are to be considered in the design process. So many considerations derived are the type of knowledge and the experience that the end user possesses. So the knowledge possessed by a person and his experience can shape the design of the interface in many ways. The knowledge and experiences can be of different kinds. So somebody could be a programmer or an experienced data entry operator, but whereas the other end user could just be a novice user in the business system. So when I say he is a novice user, I mean to say that he is inexperienced or he casually visits the site to perform the jobs. So in such cases, the novice user basically focuses on the prompting information or depends on the prompting information, menus and the help screens. Therefore, the vocabularies in the design of the interfaces used by them need to be restricted. And the tasks are to be kept simpler, and the informative feedback must be given at each and every step. But whereas in case of an expert, on the other hand, utilizing the interface, he expects rapid performance from the interface and needs very less informative feedback. And sometimes he also tries to reduce the number of keystrokes. So he can directly make use of commands to achieve a particular task. So therefore, we must therefore, a well-designed system must support at times both the novice as well as the expert behavior. So the challenge in the design is now to provide the expert's needs without introducing complexity for those who are less experienced. So while we try to design an interface, we also try to consider the experience. So an user may have application experience or he may have the task experience. So users might have worked with similar applications or are familiar with the basic applications, or do little or no application experience exist must be considered while we try to design an interface. Similarly, are the users experienced with the task being automated, and for example, if it is an insurance claim system, so we are supposed to concentrate on whether the user has an experience with paying claims. And if we are trying to design an interface for a banking system, we do have to concentrate on whether the user has the experience in similar banking applications. So depending upon his task experience, his task experience can now be utilized properly in the interface design. So education also plays an important role here. So the general education levels of users are to be kept track of. We are also supposed to keep track of, do they have high school degrees, college degrees, or advanced degrees? So, if yes, are these degrees in some specialized areas related to new system use, which makes the job of the designer much easier. So then, we are also supposed to keep track of the typing skills of the end user. That is he or she familiar with the standard keyboard layout or the newer layouts? And a competent typist may prefer to interact with the system exclusively through keyboards, but whereas an unskilled typist may always depend upon the mouse navigation. So most of these kinds of user knowledge and experience are independent of one another. So many different user profiles are possible to exist. So it's also useful to look ahead, assessing whether future users will possess the same qualities or not. So similarly, the other human consideration is the job, the type of task, or the need of the user from the system. So, users' tasks and needs are also important in the design process. So, we are first supposed to identify whether the computer systems are mandatory or are meant for discretionary use. So the next human consideration is the user's job, task, and his needs. So the user's task and needs are also important in the design process. So it becomes very necessary to determine whether the end user is a mandatory user or a discretionary user. So the users of the earliest computer systems were mandatory or non discretionary. That is, they required the computer to perform a task for all practical purposes and could be performed no other way. So, this newer kinds of users are nothing but the office executives, managers, and other personals who use computer or who always use computers. So, characteristics of such mandatory users are that the users may possess technical background and computer is always the part of their employment. So they are willing to invest time and effort in learning to use the computer to use the computer. And he is highly motivated and is often focusing on to overcome the low usability characteristics of the system. But whereas the general characteristics of discretionary users are the use of the computer or a system is not absolutely necessary for them. They are not at all interested in the technical details and they do not invest extra efforts to use the system and our high motivation to use the system may also not be exhibited and their voluntary use may have to be encouraged. So, therefore, the frequency of use also matters. That is the system in use continually, frequently, or is it used occasionally or once in a lifetime experience? The frequency of use affects the end user's both learning and remembering capacity. So occasional or infrequent users prefer ease of learning and remembering. So the tasks or need importance. How important is a task or a need for a user? Basically, people are usually willing to spend more time learning something if it makes the task being performed or need being fulfilled more efficiently. So, social interactions are also necessary. Will the user, in the normal course of task performance, be engaged in conversation with another person, such as the customers willing to use the system? If so, then the design should not interfere with the social interaction. Neither the user nor the person to whom the user is talking to must be distracted in any way by the computer interaction requirements. The design must accommodate the social interaction too. So similarly, the business systems are also affected by the user's psychological characteristics. So a person's psychological characteristics also affects one's performance of tasks requiring motor, cognitive and or perceptual skills. So the attitude and motivation is an important factor here. Is the user's attitude towards the system positive, neutral, or negative? Is he highly motivated or moderately motivated, or the motivation levels are too low, are to be considered. So while these feelings are not caused by and cannot be controlled by the designer, a positive attitude and motivation allows the user to concentrate on the productivity qualities of the system. So similarly, the we may also have to consider the user's patience level, whether the user is patient or impatient. They may be exhibiting very less tolerance for web use learning requirements, or they may be responding or or the response times are too slow, and the inefficiencies in the navigation and locating desired contents. So stress levels are also to be considered here. That is, will the user be subjected to high levels of stress while using the system has to be determined by interacting with the angry boss, client, or customer can greatly increase a person's stress level. So, system navigation or screen contents may have to be redesigned for extreme simplifications in situations that can become really stressful. So, some people differ in how they think about and solve problems. Some people are better at verbal thinking, working more effectively with words and equations, but whereas others are better at spatial reasoning, that is, manipulating symbols, pictures, and images, and some people are analytical thinkers, and others are relying on the rules of thumb and educated guesses, but some people are more concrete in their thinking and other abstracts. So various different cognitive styles of the users are also to be kept in mind when we try to design an interface. So similarly, what really matters is the user's physical characteristics too. So the physical characteristics of people can also greatly affect their performance with the system. So by physical characteristics, we mean to say the age of the person. So a young adult or a middle age person can use the computer system very effectively when you compare it with the senior citizens. So similarly, Hearing, hearing, vision, cognitive processing, and the disabilities also are to be considered when we are trying to design an interface. So people with special needs must be considered in the design, especially for systems like web designs. Now we move on to the techniques for determining the user requirements. So business definition and requirements analysis. So basically, in order to understand a business function, we are supposed to perform a business definition and requirements analysis, followed by determining the basic business functions and then describing the current activities through some task analysis, and develop a conceptual model of the system. And by establishing the design standards and style guidelines, we try to establish the system usability design goals, and then we try to define the training and the documentation needs. So here, the very first step is to perform a business definition and requirements analysis. The objective of this phase is to establish the needs for a system, is to establish the need for a system. A requirement is an objective that must be met by the system. The product description is developed and refined based upon the inputs given by the users, and there may be many techniques for collecting these informations for determining the user requirements. So there are two different methods of determining the user requirements. One is considered to be the direct method and the other one is considered to be the indirect method. So the advantages of using a direct method is the opportunity they provide to hear the user's comments in person. So you get an opportunity to talk to the user and get his recommendations or try to learn what are his requirements from the system. And here, person to person encounters permit multiple channels of communication, such as body language, voice influences, and so on, and provide an opportunity to immediately follow up on a vague or some incomplete data. So, some of the recommended direct methods for getting the inputs from the user are individual face to face interview, which we also call it to be a structured one or an open ended interview. In this, a one to one visit with the user to obtain information is carried out, and it may be structured or somewhat open ended. The formal questionnaires should not be used, but useful topics to ask the user to describe in an interview can include the activities he is supposed to perform in completing a task or in achieving a goal or an objective, and what methods he uses to perform an activity. You can also interview him with regards to what interactions exist with other people or other systems, as it is also very useful to uncover any potential measures of system usability or some unmentioned expectations to standard policies or procedures and relevant knowledge the user must possess in order to perform the desired activities. So, what is the advantage of performing a face to face interview? So, the advantage here is that you can give the user your full attention, can easily include follow up questions to gain additional information, and will have more time to discuss the topics in detail and will derive a deeper understanding of your user, their expectations, their experiences, attitudes, beliefs, and desires. But whereas the disadvantage of interviews are that they can be costly, time consuming to conduct, and someone skilled in interviewing techniques is needed to carry out this interview session. So, the other direct method here is the telephonic interview or a survey. So, it's a structured interview conducted via telephone. The advantages here are arranging the interview in advance allows the user to prepare for it, and telephone interviews are less expensive and less invasive when compared to the personal interviews, and they can be used much more frequently and are very effective for specific information. But the disadvantage here is it is impossible to gather contextual information such as description of the working environment. The replies may be sometimes be influenced by the interviewer's comments, and body language clues are also missing here. So it may be difficult to contact the right person for a telephonic interview. Followed by this is the next method, that is the traditional focus groups. So, traditional focus groups are small groups of users and a moderator brought together to verbally discuss the requirements. The purpose of a focus group is to probe users' experiences, attitudes, beliefs, and desires as we did it in the face to face interview and to obtain the reactions to ideas or prototypes. So, setting up focus groups involves the following, such as establishing the objective of the session, selecting the participants, maybe typical users or potential users of the system, and write the script for a moderator to follow. Find a skilled moderator to facilitate the discussion and allow the moderator flexibility in using the script. So the moderator here is supposed to take good notes using the session recording for backup and clarification. After traditional focus groups, the other direct method here is facilitated team workshops. A facilitated structured workshop held with the users to obtain the requirements can be held with the users to obtain the requirements information. So it is very much similar to that of traditional focus groups. Like focus groups itself, they do require a great deal of time to organize and run such team workshops. So followed by it, we have observational field study. So the users are observed and monitored for an extended time to learn what they do. Observation provides good insight into tasks being performed, the working environment and the conditions there, along with the social environment and the working practices. Observations, however, can be time consuming and expensive, and video recording of observation sessions permit detailed task analysis. Similarly, requirements prototyping and user interface prototyping. So a demo or a very early prototype can be presented to the user for comments concerning its functionality, or a demo or early prototype can be presented to the user to uncover user interface issues and problems. And usability laboratory testing is again a direct method of requirement collection, wherein the users at work are observed, evaluated, and measured in some specially constructed laboratories to establish the usability of the product. Similarly, usability tests try to uncover what people actually do with the system and not what they think they can what they think about the common problems that may exist in the system. So moving on to the indirect methods. So indirect method of requirements collection is the one that tries to place some intermediary between the developer and the user. So this intermediary can be an electronic device or it could be a human being. So but there exist some problems with indirect methods of information collection. So the common problems could be sometimes there might be filtering or distortion of the message, which is either done intentionally or unintentionally. And then sometimes the intermediary may not possess a complete understanding of users' needs and passes on some incomplete or incorrect message to the designer. Similarly, the intermediary may be a mechanism that discourages the direct user developer contact for some political reasons. So, there are various techniques involved in indirect information collection. So, the first one is the MIS intermediary. So, every company or MIS is considered to be a company representative which defines the user goals and the needs to the designers and the developers. So this representative may come from the information services department, or he or she may be from this department who is trying to deliver the needed information. So similarly, we also have paper surveys or electronic surveys. So we can perform a survey, or we can conduct a questionnaire, or we can design a questionnaire in order to administer the requirements from a sample set of users, maybe by using traditional email methods in order to obtain their needs. What exactly are the advantages of designing questionnaires? So basically, questionnaires have potential to be used for a large set of audiences, and the audiences may be located anywhere, and this technique tends to be cheaper than visiting the customers individually. And but there are some disadvantages associated to it also. The disadvantages are like they may take a long time to collect because people usually tend to neglect questionnaires, and it might be very difficult to analyze also, as the questionnaire may have both open ended as well as the closed ended questions in it. So therefore, we always recommend that questionnaires should be composed of mostly the closed questions wherein the user can answer them in terms of yes or no, and try to keep it as short as possible, and it should always be created by some experienced person in the some experienced designer. So then electronic focus group. So, a small group of users and a moderator discuss the requirements online using workstations in such indirect method. So basically, the advantages of electronic focus groups over traditional focus groups that were discussed in the previous slide are that the discussion is less influenced by the group dynamics and has a smaller chance of being dominated by a single or a set of participants. And it can be anonymous, leading to most honest comments and less caution in proposing new ideas. But the disadvantage is the depth and the richness of verbal discussion does not exist here, and the communication enhancement aspects of seeing participants' body language are missing. So the next information collection method is marketing and sales. So here the company representatives who regularly meet the customers can obtain their suggestions, their needs, and their needs which can be implemented in the next version of the system. So then support line. In here the information collected by the unit can help the customer with day-to-day problems is analyzed. So in support line we can try to talk to customer support uh, members or technical support members, or even the help desk. Similarly, emails or bulletin boards too. So problems, questions and suggestions from the users can be posted to the bulletin board, or through emails they can be received and analyzed. So we also have competitor analysis. So in business, a review of competitors' products, their websites is usually performed to gather ideas and to uncover the design requirements and to identify the necessary tasks that are to be achieved. So similarly, followed by system testing. So system testing is also a method of collecting the necessary information. So here, a new set of requirements and the feedbacks can be obtained from the ongoing products testing, and requirements collection guidelines can be established. So all these tend to be the different methods, different indirect methods of collecting the information. So now there also exist some problems in collecting the information. So what exactly are these problems? So sometimes not enough users or customers and other interested parties are involved in this process of information collection. So So, here as the users or the customers are not interested in involving themselves in this requirements collection process, the result may be we end up collecting incomplete requirements. So, similarly, lack of requirements management or coordination. So, requirements modifications are not recorded or not tracked properly or are not carried out, then the requirements may be inaccurate or incomplete. So, similarly, communication problems among all participants. So, when we are trying to collect the information from a group, it is also possible that not all participants understand the exact requirements or the requirements might be differing from one participant to the another. So then capturing relevant information may also be sometimes difficult. That is, the relevant knowledge may exist in many places or might be scattered among different locations, including books, operating manuals, and in people's minds. So collecting all these things uh, and trying to create a concrete set of requirements could also be a difficult job. Similarly, people who do understand the problem may be very little or may be constrained. So heavy workloads and lack of time may make people reluctant or even unable to participate in the requirements collection process. So the people are unavailable to perform the requirement collection process. And similarly, the organizational and political factors and agendas may also influence the process. The resulting views may not tally with the user's views, and resistance to new ideas and changes may be reflected in the comments made. And disparities in knowledge may also exist. Some people may know what they want only in general terms, but whereas others may be forceful and detailed about their needs from the system. Therefore, getting a balanced view now becomes difficult. So, changing economic and business environments and the personal roles may also create a problem. As a result, wants and needs also change depending upon the changing economic and business environments and individuals' roles.